will be appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, but says they are prepared for it. Attorney General Rayfield says effectively the order would place the National Guard back under the command of the governor at this time. President Trump previously said on social media that the troops were now in place and were said to be training at the coast. Rayfield says they will be back in front of the judge asking for an extension of this order in a few weeks to ultimately get a preliminary injunction that will last a longer period of time. Here's Attorney General Rayfield and Mayor Wilson.
The most compelling facts that the Trump administration had was back in June. And you don't get to look back several months and then all of a sudden start to deploy your troops, multiple months later, saying that justified the existence.
As the judge noted in her decision, we provided substantial evidence that the protests at the Portland ICE facility were not significantly violent or disruptive in the days or even the weeks leading up to the president's directive on September 27.
So after the ruling, a White House spokesperson said that President Trump exercised his lawful authority to protect federal assets and personnel in Portland following violent riots and attacks on law enforcement. We expect to be vindicated by a higher court. Now, Rayfield says that they're asking people to respect the ruling and protest peacefully. And right now, there's over a few hundred people here at the moment. If we go ahead and we kind of look toward the gates, there were just a lot of people chanting toward the direction of those gates. And people are out here playing music. It's been pretty peaceful while I've been out here, again, mainly just chanting and people speaking on the megaphone. There's people on the curb sitting down. There's a lot of people with gas masks, and at the moment you can still kind of smell the pepper balls in the air at the moment. But while I've been here, there's been no deployment of gas or anything like that. Again, over 100 people in the area, but cars are still making their way up and down the street. And so that's sort of what we've been looking at for the past couple of 10, 20, 30 minutes out here. But we'll be keeping you guys updated. We're going to try and talk to people on the street about their reaction to the ruling. But for right now, John, I'm going to toss it back to you.
All right, Celine Stevens live tonight. Celine, stay safe out there. Thank you so much for your reporting. Also happening today, President Trump authorized the deployment of 300 National Guard troops to Chicago. The Guard members' primary mission will be to protect federal officers and property. The president's actions come after protesters gathered at an ICE facility there on Friday. That demonstration led to more than a dozen arrests. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said the Defense Department gave him an ultimatum. Either he authorized the deployment of the federal government will do so. Pritzker called the Trump administration's actions outrageous and un-American. Hundreds of protesters marched to the Portland ICE facility today in opposition to ICE's presence here in the city. Jay Coulter brings us the story from the ICE facility this afternoon.
Protesters then marched from Elizabeth Carruthers Park to down here in front of the ICE facility, and after just a few minutes, ICE agents came out and unleashed tear gas and pepper balls.
Thank you all so much for coming out here today. I think a lot of people are very scared. A lot of people are very nervous. Sending the military after your own citizens is an egregious act.
Holly Brown helped organize Saturday's anti-ICE protest, which kicked off at Elizabeth Carruthers Park, and says she has been protesting down at the ICE facility many times over the last few months.
The people protesting at ICE are completely peaceful. There are people who are going out there to stand up for their immigrant neighbors, and they are being painted in some press outlets and by Donald Trump as agitators, as people who don't belong here, who are causing violence, and nothing could be further from the truth.
FBI data released Thursday claims they've made 128 arrests since June 9th, but KGW has found that many taken into custody aren't formally charged. Those who have been charged are facing penalties for trespassing all the way up to assault on a federal officer. What do you make of the current characterization of Portland as a sort of war-ravaged place?
If this is war-ravaged, boy, there's a lot of people in the world that want to be here.
We say fight back!
Protesters then marched down to the ICE facility from the park, but were quickly met with force from federal agents. Holly Brown, who we'd interviewed earlier, stepped over the blue line on the ground marking federal property and was seemingly detained by federal agents, as you can see here, along with what looked like at least 2 other people. Moments later, agents deployed tear gas and mace. We also photographed someone who says he was hit by a pepper ball. Much of the crowd dispersed in the immediate aftermath, and KGW did not witness any violence coming from the side of the protesters.
Am I surprised that these fragile men with their big guns and stuff are sitting out here getting joy from shooting civilians? No.
Jay Coulter, KGW News.
One person arrested during a protest outside of the ICE facility over the summer is now waiting to be sentenced. The Oregon District Attorney announced yesterday that 47-year-old Julie Winters entered a guilty plea for felony intimidation of a federal officer and resisting arrest. Court documents state in June she pulled a knife and swung it at officers, then fought with deputy marshals when they tried to arrest her. Video shared with us showed officers tasing her. She's set to be sentenced in December. And stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the protests, plus any appeal on the ruling to send National Guard troops to Portland. Look for that here on air on KGW.com and on KGW+.
Hands up! If you reach for a weapon, you could be shot!
The Portland Police Bureau has released body-worn camera video from a police shooting that happened last month. The incident took place at a gas station in southeast Portland. And we do want to warn you, this video will be disturbing to some viewers. You will hear the sound of gunshots, but will not see the shots being fired or anyone getting hit.
On the morning of September 20th, Portland police officers responded after a report of a man threatening an employee at a gas station in southeast Portland. They encountered the suspect at another gas station near Southeast 122nd and Division. Body-worn camera video shows officers arriving on scene and communicating with the suspect, asking him to exit the vehicle with his hands up.
Hands up! If you reach for a weapon, you could be shot!
The verbal commands from officers were being directed at the suspect in the passenger seat of the silver SUV, who police have identified as 30-year-old Brian Velasco Ruelas of Portland.
Passenger, put your hands up! Hands up, passenger!
Velasco Ruelas eventually exits the vehicle. We have decided to blur him in this video.
Hands up, passenger! They're semi-cooperative. Nope, just keep your hands up! Stop reaching around!
Seconds later, you can hear an exchange of gunfire. Velasco Ruelas was hit in the exchange. Portland police officers provided him medical aid after the shooting. According to PPB, a police cruiser and a nearby vehicle were hit with gunfire, and a firearm was also recovered. Velasco Ruelas was transported to the hospital after the incident. 2 weeks later, he remains in police custody in the hospital.
And according to PPB, formal charges will be filed when he is released. Per standard procedure, the two PPB officers who use their firearms remain on administrative leave as the investigation continues. No officers were hurt in that incident. Well, turning now to our weather here locally and taking a live look out over the Rose City where it's 61 degrees. We saw mostly cloudy skies to start the first weekend of October and a few light showers earlier today, but tomorrow and the early part of next week are shaping up to be much warmer. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri has a look at your first forecast.
John, it was definitely a cool and cloudy start. Those showers that start to move through late last night, early this morning were pretty light. We didn't really see much in terms of measurable amount of rain. Tomorrow, there will be some areas of low clouds, some spotty areas of fog, but a good portion of the day is going to be pretty much clear skies from beginning to end with daytime highs right around the low 70s. Now, that weak system that we saw earlier this morning is going to be pushing off to the east. Now we're going to start to see a ridge of high pressure develop over the next couple of days, and that means a lot of sunshine for us as we head into the first full week of October. I'll talk more about when we can be seeing some measurable amount of rain coming up in just a few minutes.
Hey, Joe, thank you. We'll see you soon. Well, thousands of people are expected to run in tomorrow's Portland Marathon. Ahead of the race, today runners went to the Oregon Convention Center to pick up their bibs and shirts. Organizers say they've seen an increase in participation this year. In 2024, they had roughly 9,000 runners. This year, they have nearly 12,000. Daryl Fippen, who helped to organize the marathon, says that increase is likely due to their sponsorship with Nike. As far as changes to the race route, runners may notice a few differences.
We moved the start line just a little bit, just west on Salmon Street, and then there's one little turn on the route that was changed, but pretty much everything else has stayed exactly the same from last year. Tomorrow looks like a beautiful day, so we hope all the neighborhoods and communities within the Portland area whether they're on the course or off the course, come out to support all these great runners.
Organizers also tell KGW they're in frequent communication with Portland police regarding safety for runners. This as a portion of the race route passes by the ICE building on South Waterfront. The race starts at 7:15 tomorrow morning. The marathon course crosses the Broadway, Burnside, and Selwood bridges. TriMet says 20 bus routes will have detours, and the race crosses the Max line at 4 different locations. That means some riders could see slight delays from 5 this morning until the race wraps up. Well, coming up, a popular weight loss drug could have other uses. We're going to take a look into how the drug could treat addiction, plus how it will soon be available to more people. Plus, volunteers gather for a walk along Swan Island to show support for everyone impacted by suicide. Welcome back. Let's take a look at your headlines. As the government shutdown stretches into day 4, food banks are preparing for an increase in demand. One food bank in Washington, D.C. estimates roughly 75,000 federal workers are living paycheck to paycheck. Food banks in other states are also preparing for possible increases in demand since the vast majority of federal employees work outside the Washington metropolitan area. Rite Aid has officially closed all of its stores. The drugstore chain filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in May of this year after previously filing in 2023. Customers who used Rite Aid for their prescriptions and to get vaccines can request their history online, according to their website. Ozempic and Wegovy are coming to a Costco near you. The company that makes them, Novo Nordisk, announced that it will be selling the prescription pens at Costco stores. A 4-week supply of the weight loss drug costs $499 out of pocket. For members who have insurance, the price will depend on their plan. In health news tonight, researchers in Washington are finding that weight loss medications like Ozempic may also help reduce cravings for alcohol and other substances. Christine Pei has more on how they could be used to start treating drug addictions.
They're known as GLP-1s, short for glucagon-like peptide 1, but commonly recognized as drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Trulicity. Developed in the 1980s, they were originally designed to control blood sugar for diabetes patients. But these patients started reporting something doctors didn't expect. They weren't just eating less, they were drinking less too.
A lot of people talked about the food noise also being the alcohol noise, right? And so when they started to notice that they just weren't drinking as much wine or they just weren't drinking as much beer, they kind of were laughing about it, but they started doing some of these preliminary studies on it.
HealthLink reached out to WSU pharmacotherapy professor Nicole Roden, who specializes in substance use disorders. She says researchers began studying these reports seriously, even analyzing Reddit posts where users shared their experiences.
So that starts that, I guess, pilot data to actually dive deeper into this. So since then, we've been able to find more research on it.
Roden notes that GLP-1 receptors are located throughout the body, including the pancreas, liver, and our brain, where the receptors affect feeling full after eating.
They're also seeing that when people do partake in substance use, whether that's alcohol, cocaine, something else, there is some early reports to say that it's that satiety that might be impacting it. So they don't feel like they need to binge at that moment.
Roden says the discovery shows promise for treating drug addiction, even smoking. Currently, the FDA has not approved GLP-1 medications for addiction treatment, and clinical trials are still in the early stages.
So I don't see this being an overnight sensation or phenomena. With that being said, I think especially if you're already indicated for diabetes or obesity and you're going to be using these medications anyways, it could be an added benefit if that is one of your goals.
Roden estimates it could be 5 to 7 years before these drugs are specifically approved to treat substance use disorders. Researchers emphasize that addiction treatment is not one size fits all, and even if approved, these medications would likely be used alongside other therapies rather than a standalone solution. For HealthLink, I'm Christine Pei reporting.
New tonight, people gathered today at Swan Island to bring awareness to a leading but preventable cause of death. Outside Daimler's truck, members and volunteers of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention took part in the Portland Out of Darkness Community Walk. Not only are they fundraisers, but they give people a chance to connect with others who have been impacted by suicide.
By having the beads, it's a visual. You can look at someone and say, hey, we're both purple bead people. That means we've lost a friend or relative. Or, hey, I see you have green beads. You're also an attempt survivor, someone who struggles with their mental health. So we have an automatic connection without having to share all those details.
So far, Portland, Oregon Walk has raised more than $74,000, nearly halfway to their goal. And we want to make sure you know there's help available 24/7. The crisis hotline is right there on your screen, 988.
Well, we started the day off with cool and cloudy conditions, and daytime highs only topped out right around the mid to the upper 60s. So just a couple degrees cooler from where we should be for this time of year. Average highs are right around the low 70s for the early part of October. As we look into tomorrow, there will be some areas of fog to start things off. By late morning, clear skies. Temperatures by midday will be in the mid 60s. I'm expecting to see temperatures getting into right around the low 70s tomorrow. A few locations could inch close to about that 75-degree range. So overnight, as we look in the weather headlines, there will be some areas of fog, but lots of sunshine by late morning into much of tomorrow. Next week, strong east winds. That's going to help our temperatures warm up a little bit, getting the mid to the upper 70s for both Monday and into Tuesday. And then we stay mainly dry next week. The next chance to see the potential for measurable amount of rain is going to be Wednesday and early Thursday, but it's not going to be really much in terms of making news for our weather headlines for sure. We'll have that ridge of high pressure in place over the next couple of days, including tomorrow. So that means a lot of sunshine for your Sunday afternoon and all the way into much of next week as well. Most of the shower activity is going to be into the Oregon-Idaho border. So early tomorrow morning, we'll be looking at some patchy areas of fog. You can kind of see where it's going to develop, really up and down the I-5 corridor. Then we go into the early part of the afternoon. We're looking at nothing but clear skies, and that's going to carry over into Monday as well. So far for the month of October, we've seen about a 0.2 of an inch of rain, and we're not going to be seeing much over the next couple of days in terms of really heavy downpours. This is kind of that transition time of the year where we see really warm conditions transfer into cool conditions heading into the early part of October. But this year, it's going to be relatively quiet. A chance to see those showers roll in by basically the middle and later part of the week. But so far, models are showing kind of rainfall amounts being on the lighter side. We saw daytime highs in the mid to the upper 60s earlier this afternoon. Over in Hood River, you saw temperatures close to 70 degrees. And as we look at the next couple of days, we're going to be seeing just some very pleasant conditions move through. We have that ridge of high pressure in place, so that's going to be bringing in temperatures just above average for many of us, basically from, I'd say, Monday afternoon into Tuesday, and then we'll see some cooler weather move through heading into Wednesday. So the forecast for Sunday looks like this. We'll be seeing temperatures really nice along the Oregon coast, the mid to the upper 60s. Throughout the valley, we'll be looking at temperatures right around the low 70s. And again, a few locations could get close to that 75-degree mark. And then I think we really see the chance for 75 degrees heading into Monday with that strong east wind. And then going into Tuesday, we'll be looking at temperatures in the mid to the upper 70s. A chance for some showers arriving heading into Wednesday and Thursday. But again, rainfall amounts are going to be under 1/10 of an inch of rain. And then we'll start to see some drier conditions for the later part of the week before seeing another round of showers a week from today.
What is good, everyone? Winless and off to their worst start since '96, the Oregon State Beavers head into a more favorable part of the schedule and their best chance at stacking some wins. The Beavers making their longest road trip of the season, visiting The Rock in Boone, North Carolina. Their first ever meeting with Appalachian State. And it was a disaster of a first quarter for the Beavs. A fumbled kickoff return and a missed chip shot field goal, adding to the special teams issues that have plagued this team all season. The Mountaineers scored points on their first 3 drives and OSU trailed 17-0. Second quarter and the Beavers show some life. That's David Wells Jr. putting the Beavs on the board. OSU got within 3, and check out some of these highlight-worthy catches. That's Eddie Freehoff. Somehow makes that grab. Then Beaverton's Trent Walker. He had a career-high 13 catches, 179 yards. But when the game was on the line, Oregon State needed a yard and got stuffed at the goal line 3 times. OSU had another shot with under a minute to go, but Malik Murphy is picked off, and App State holds on for the win. 27-23, the Beavers now drop to 0-6 for the first time since 1991. Live from Eugene, ESPN's College Game Day is bringing the show to Oregon. A top 10 matchup awaits. The second-ranked Ducks host number 8 Indiana, both undefeated, both coming off a bye week. It is going down Saturday, 12:30 from Autzen Stadium. Derby Day up north, the Timbers visiting the Sounders. They're on the pitch right now, and Seattle leads 1-0 in the first half. Highlights coming up at 11. In the Rose City special night at Providence Park, the Portland Thorns honoring soccer icon Christine Sinclair. Retiring her number 12, she's also the first player inducted into the club's Hall of Fame. Now, she's in the Ring of Honor. Sink, an original Thorn, the club's all-time leader in goals and 3-time NWSL champion. She spent 12 years with the Thorns. This was a chance for Soccer City USA to give Sink her flowers and show love to a legend.
My worst nightmare, but obviously, yeah, this city, these fans, this club means the world to me, and this is just an incredible honor. It's home. I mean, I literally grew up here, and these fans, this organization, I mean, through the good times, the bad times, the wins, the losses, we all stuck together, and yeah, it's remarkable. I remember coming out every game and seeing Clive's name up there, and I don't know, to know that I'll be up beside him means a lot.
Sinclair's soccer accolades go on, from setting the international record for goals scored, male or female, to winning Olympic gold with Team Canada, to leading the University of Portland to a couple of national titles. I know she hates being the center of attention, but this was a night that everyone got a chance to celebrate her. So an awesome and special evening in Soccer City, USA.
Definitely, absolutely well-deserved. And a quick update, the Seattle Mariners going to extra innings right now.
That is spicy, man.
Yeah, we'll have more coming up tonight at 11. We'll see you then.